Last time we were together, I spoke a little bit about the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, the great Indian sage, and his practice that he taught of self-inquiry. The practice is gently and continuously asking a question, no matter the frequency or the intensity of the emotions that inevitably arise or the thoughts that inevitably arise during meditation. And that question is, who am I? And it's not a question that is meant to be answered intellectually. Of course, we can try to answer it intellectually, but it's not meant to be answered intellectually. It is really a practice of tuning into something steadier beneath the changing nature and the constant chatter and activity of the mind, beneath the noise that we absorb from the world around us. It's really a practice of noticing and bringing awareness and presence to where the mind is resting and what it's resting on in any given moment without attaching and gripping to it. Because we know in unity that much of our human experience, if not all of it, is shaped less by the external events themselves and more by the state of consciousness through which we perceive them. So, in A Course in Miracles, one of the central teachings in that book is that beneath the complexity of our human experience, we're often relating to life through one of two states of being, a state of love or a state of fear. Now, and all the emotional equivalents that get wrapped up into those two categories, right? We know them well. So fear tends to contract. It can often be a heavy kind of feeling. When fear is present, usually tension is present, right? Fear tends to separate and divide, and it interprets usually through a lens of protection, scarcity, defensiveness, even survival. When love is present, it creates usually a sense of spaciousness. Love tends to soften, it tends to reconnect and unite us. And it usually allows us to perceive with a greater vantage point, one with more compassion, clarity, and trust. So through the practice of self-inquiry, what we begin noticing over time is how deeply those states shape our perception and guide our attention in the way that we experience reality. We're living in a time of immense informational and emotional activity and intensity, right? It's quite wild here on this planet. Our attention is constantly being hijacked and directed and shaped by what we are exposed to every single day. And my, are we exposed to a lot? Got media, technology, news cycles, constant stimulation. And we're also navigating as a species some pretty complex environmental, economic, and societal changes that are happening at rapid paces. Now, fear is a natural and even intelligent human response. I don't want to downplay that. Fear has its benefits. It can alert us, it can protect us in times of danger. It can call attention to what needs care, action, or responsibility. But I think that part of the deeper challenge is noticing how easily the mind can actually settle into a state of chronic fear when it is consistently exposed to emotionally activating information, dialogue, and narratives. Because there is a difference between fear that informs our awareness and fear that continuously conditions the way that we experience and perceive life. And over time, this repeated exposure begins to shape our nervous system itself. So our nervous systems are going to respond to what feels emotionally significant in the moment. When fear becomes the primary atmosphere that we're living inside of, and we don't need to look far to see that, our attention tends to organize itself into a state of survival, maybe known as fear, rather than a state of love, where we access a state of deep presence and self-reflection or clarity. So what happens is more energy then goes towards managing and controlling our lives rather than fully living and being present within it. And after a while, that state of survival can begin to feel normal. So our bodies usually stay tense. So many people are carrying so much in their bodies. Our attention usually stays vigilant, on guard. And those deeper qualities of love within us seem to feel harder and harder to access. Because there are so many distractions these days, many people often never even realize that they are living inside of a near constant state of internal activation, especially our younger generations that do not know a world without constant distraction and stimulation. So, this is where contemplative practice becomes deeply relevant. Spirituality and practices like meditation and self-inquiry, they don't remove us from human experience, right? We know this. But over time, they do change the way we meet our human experience. They can teach us how to remain present without becoming overwhelmed, how to remain informed and aware without being completely consumed. And one of the most important is over time, it teaches us how to either keep our hearts open or how to open our hearts without losing the important quality of discernment. Discernment matters so much in a world where fear so often competes for our attention. Being able to discern what is fear-driven from what is actually true and helpful and grounded and life-giving is such a necessary tool for the times that we are living in. Metaphysically, discernment is described as an inner spiritual capacity, something like an inner radar that helps us to see what is true beneath the surface of things. And it goes beyond our logic, and it even goes beyond our intuition. It is this deeper inner knowing that helps us to feel what is aligned for us or what is not. And the moment that we begin observing our inner state consciously, our self-awareness begins to loosen the grip of some of these automatic fear-based emotions, thoughts, beliefs, and patterns by creating space. Space to choose between stimulus and either reaction or stimulus and response. I believe this is what A Course in Miracles was pointing us towards when it describes love and fear as the two fundamental orientations through which we experience life. Not necessarily love and fear as emotions alone, but as deeper states of consciousness that are shaping our perception itself. And what becomes so important is realizing that most of the time, we're not consciously choosing between them. We are usually rehearsing them through where our attention repeatedly is resting. So every moment that we're able to bring in this state of inner awareness, it gives us an opportunity to consciously notice. Am I perceiving this through fear? Or am I perceiving this through a deeper presence that is rooted in love? And this isn't some kind of moral judgment. It is an act of inner honesty. Because the state that we repeatedly return to gradually shapes not only our experience of life, but the quality of the presence that we bring into the world around us. And so there is something deeply, deeply responsible about the practice of inner awareness, cultivating presence within and cultivating this willingness to meet life from a clearer and more grounded place within ourselves. And so from here, we arrive at a deeper invitation. Excuse me. Because when our attention becomes completely absorbed in the movement of the external world, we rarely pause long enough, if ever, to notice that there's something within us, this observer consciousness that is quietly witnessing all of life unfold. And if we never pause to observe the one who is thinking, the one who is reacting and consuming and identifying with every passing experience, we remain completely merged with the monkey mind, the movement of the mind that takes us on endless mazes away from our center, away from ourself. Many contemplative traditions eventually arrive at this same turning point. The invitation is to ask not only what we are experiencing, but who is experiencing it? And this is the question that this great teacher, Ramana Maharshi, pointed people back towards. Who am I? Who is this I? Who is this I beneath the endless chatter of these thoughts that I have going on in my mind? Who is this I beneath the past experiences and the conditioning and the programming and the traumas? Who am I beneath everything that I'm absorbing from the world around me? This question is not meant to pull us away from life. It is meant to turn us deep within towards a more honest encounter with ourselves, so that we can then begin meeting life and all of its wonder and its complexity consciously from the inside out, through awareness of the inner movement that is shaping how we perceive, interpret, and respond. Now, of course, remaining inwardly present in modern life is not always very easy. Much of modern life is designed to keep our attention moving outward. Many of us move through the day absorbing immense, enormous amounts of information and stimulation without ever fully settling into our inner experience. Which is why for so many people, the practice of meditation, being still, cultivating silence can feel so uncomfortable, because it is one of those few moments where nothing is distracting us from ourselves. So as we begin turning inward, I just want to highlight here that what tends to happen is parts of our experience that have been usually waiting a long time to be recognized begin to surface, and they ask for our attention to be seen. So the mind, usually in our life experience, often learns to stay busy or occupied for good reasons. Sometimes constant activity or distraction may have become a way of avoiding what once felt too painful or overwhelming or difficult or even dangerous to face. So I just want to highlight that meeting ourselves honestly in these moments of self-inquiry requires compassion. It's never, ever about forcing our way into difficult emotions. It's really about gradually co-creating in alignment with spirit enough safety and awareness to be present with what is here, so that spirit can show us a way of how do we not have to hold on to this any longer. So stillness can feel very unfamiliar, and that's because it operates at a different pace than what so many of us have become accustomed to. If we're honest, we've practiced distraction far more than we practice presence. And so we tend to feel like we lose contact with the indwelling presence. And that's not because it disappears, but because our attention has been trained elsewhere, right? There's a Christian pastor named Aidan Tozer who says, God is not silent. It is us who have become deaf. The encouraging news is that our attention can be trained in more than one direction, with some healthy discipline, some effort, and some good old repetition. Tony Robbins, great teacher, great mind on our planet, says repetition is the mother of all skills. So the nervous system learns what it repeatedly rehearses, right? Our neurons fire and wire together based off of what we are focusing on and practicing. So what we continually return to emotionally, mentally, physically, gradually becomes familiar, automatic, and eventually embodied within us. We know, and these media stations all know, that fear can be conditioned in this way. But presence can also be conditioned in this way. Through the simple daily practice of turning inward, right? Beginning to recognize the subtle patterns and the impressions that are carried within our mind that are often unseen, yet running the show, quietly shaping the direction of our attention and our lives. And over time, as we continue to practice daily, we don't miss a day. We practice daily. This inward movement begins to feel less unfamiliar. It begins to feel less like something that we need to force, and it begins to feel more like a gradual returning, something we look forward to, a remembering. And so we began this talk by exploring that in this world where fear and distraction and emotional activation so often compete for our attention, the deeper question is not whether fear exists. The deeper question is where we choose to place our attention in the midst of it. Because where our attention rests, our consciousness and energy follows. So the invitation is simple, my friends. To notice where your attention is resting, to notice what it is shaping within us, who is it shaping us to become, and to gently return, no matter how many times it takes, to what is here beneath it all. In a world where our attention is a valuable form of currency, learning how to consciously direct it may be one of the most greatest spiritual responsibilities of our time. Because every moment that we return to stillness, every moment that we come back to remembering the presence of God within ourselves, we're reclaiming something essential within ourselves, and that is reclaiming the choice to awaken on this human journey. So for a few moments now, let us simply be present together by practicing a meditation together. If you are watching this and you are operating a vehicle, you may want to come back to this later or pull off if you're safe to do so, so that you can fully absorb this practice. Otherwise, you can just listen to it in the background. For those of you that are in a safe space to do so, you can begin to close your eyes. And just notice here, maybe adjust your seat, planting your feet on the floor, unless you're sitting in a lotus position on the ground, or maybe standing, grounding your feet. Noticing the support that is beneath you, holding you. And I'd like to go ahead to start by calming the nervous system. So in a moment, I will guide you to a gentle practice of releasing some of the tension we carry in our body, and then having you do a nervous system parasympathetic breath, which if you've listened to my talks before, you're familiar with it. I will guide you to breathing in deeply for a count of 4. And then exhaling slowly and completely by pursing your lips like you're either blowing out a candle or drinking from a straw, exhaling for a count of 6. So what we're going to do, first of all, we're going to begin by taking in a deep breath of air through the nose, and we're going to squeeze our shoulders up super tight towards our ears like earrings. Squeeze them tight as you inhale more and more and more and more air. And then exhale, let it all go, and drop your shoulders, let your body be heavy. We're going to do that 2 more times. So inhale, squeeze your shoulders up towards your ears. Squeeze in more and more and more air. Squeeze tighter. And exhale, release, let it go. One more time. Inhaling deeply. Squeezing the shoulders up tighter than you think you can. Inhaling more air than you think you can. Hold it. Exhale, release. Slowly breathe out all that air till you cannot breathe out anymore. And now we're going to inhale through the nose for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, purse the lips for a count of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the nose, nice and deep. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, purse the lips. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Biggest breath of the day here. Inhale for 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And exhale, purse the lips for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let your breath return to its own natural rhythm. And just notice how you feel. So just taking a few minutes to simply arrive here and now. There's nothing we need to do currently in this moment, nothing we need to solve, nothing we need to force, just allowing ourselves to become present here. You may notice sounds, thoughts arising, maybe sensations in your body. There's no need to push anything away, and there's no need to grip and hold on. So as the thoughts inevitably move through your mind, the goal is not to turn off our thoughts, it's just to direct and see what's beneath them. You might, if it feels comfortable for you, gently bring awareness to that question that Ramana Maharshi continuously pointed towards. Who am I? Remember, it is not something that we can answer intellectually. I mean, we can, but it's not meant to be answered intellectually. It's a simple, quiet, inward noticing. Who am I beneath the movement of these thoughts? Who am I beneath fear? Who am I beneath all the roles and the pressures and the noise of daily life? Just allowing the question to soften the tendency to immediately identify with every thought that appears. And you will notice how quickly attention wants to move outward again, towards planning and remembering and analyzing and reaching for something. And gently, without judgment, simply returning. Who am I? Each return inward is a small movement away from fear and back towards our original state of being, of love and peace. A return from fragmentation to wholeness, from unconscious reaction toward conscious presence. To this quiet presence here, untouched by the constant movement passing through experience. Your mind will wander, and that is all right. This is the practice, gently returning again and again. Begin to deepen your breathing, feeling this presence within you expand around you. What presence are we bringing to those around us? May you allow this practice to carry with you a little bit more awareness, a little more ease and spaciousness back into the rest of your day. When you are ready and you feel complete, you can open your eyes. Thank you all so, so much for being here with me today and practicing with me in the presence. I appreciate you. Take care.